I'm gonna call us back to order. It is 6:34. Welcome, everyone. The town of Smithers acknowledges the Indian plan and the Wet'suwet'en people on whose unceded traditional territory we live, work, and play. And the public is notified that the meeting is being recorded and webcast, a notice of which is on the bulletin board outside these chambers. Council, there is an agenda, including the supplemental. A motion to approve, please. Councilor Dukeman, Councilor Raymond. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. I'm just going to go to Mr. George. It's a little bit outside the agenda, but we have a new staff member in Mr. George's department, and we're going to have an introduction this evening.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mayor Ackrell. I'd like to introduce our new community safety officer to council and the community at large here. And I will turn this over to Carl. Carl Chad started yesterday, and I'll turn the floor over to him for him to introduce himself. We're very happy to have Carl join our team, in addition to our existing community safety officer, David Pruden. Carl.
Thanks, Will. So yeah, my name's Carl Chad. A little bit of history about me. I had over 10 years plus with the RCMP Auxiliary before I decided to do this. I owned a business in town for Sport Lakes Automotive. I also worked for CN and a few other jobs. So most of you probably know me or see me around at some point. I'm looking forward to this opportunity, and hopefully we can keep Smithers the beautiful place it is and enjoy raising our families here.
Thanks, Carl. Nice to see you here, and welcome to the team. Appreciate that. And I'm fond of saying you're welcome to stay with us the whole evening, or you're welcome to take part of your evening back. You choose.
I'll probably sneak out here in a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, Mr. George. Okay, then first up on the agenda, we have delegations. And so the first delegation is the Smithers Area Housing Society. You've been here before, but I'll invite you to come to the delegation table. And the way it works is you have up to 10 minutes to let us know what you're up to, and we have about 5 minutes for a Q&A. We've got a big agenda tonight, so we're going to be kind of holding people to time this evening. Mr. McCurry, if you don't mind, for the record, just introducing yourself, and the floor is yours.
Al McCurry, I'm just an advisor to this, the Smithers Area Housing Society. I was involved with, excuse me, I was involved with the applications, and these are more just points of discussion and trying to emphasize how the current system for trying to make available land or fund social housing doesn't work. And so I just have these one-page letter because I realize your time's important. So I'm just going to go through it quickly. I'd like to thank you for taking time to listen to us. The intent of this meeting is to express our concern over the lack of affordable housing for seniors and other groups that require affordable housing. At today's cost, $400 a square foot, even a 600-foot house would be $240,000. A 1,500 square foot would be $600,000. If you assume the mortgage would be 75% total and a 5% mortgage rate that may be available in a couple of years, right now they're running 7 or 8. The rental cost for a 600 square foot house would be $750 per month, and the 1,500 square foot family unit would be $1,785 just for the interest. At principal and operating costs, the minimum rent goes to $1,000 to $2,500. Members of our community on fixed income, such as government pensions and old age security, can afford these rates. As a result, unless there is government funding, no projects can proceed. As a statutory letter of April 5th to Nathan Cullen, our community has been unsuccessful in several requests for funding and is depleting its equity every time there is a failed application. Our committee is requesting council to request to the Municipal Association to request changes in the upfront cost of application for design, thermal studies, and engineering reports before an application is approved. All these studies and engineering reports are time specific and project specific and have to be repeated for every application. So if you take, there's 140 some municipalities. So every time they send out a request, 141 municipalities spend 10 to 100,000 making an application. This time they picked 43 for the 3,500 units they approved. The average number was 78. So the other basically 100 communities just wasted $10,000 to $100,000. The system is broken. If housing is concerned to governments, then there has to be changes in the downloading of cost of the construction and development industries on affordable housing projects. This downloading of development fees has pushed the final cost of housing using past the affordable price of large portions of the community. As an example, a $30,000 administration fee for the town of Smithers adds $125 per month to the rental rate on a 5% mortgage. Our society continues to hold the main street property, the Old Hilltop Hotel location, and has purchased another property for development. Every year that applications are turned down over taxes and other charges for these properties. Council wants these projects to proceed. They should consider provincial tax exemption for nonprofits for trying to address the housing shortage. I guess the purpose is to say that unless there's change, nonprofits aren't going to exist. Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks, Mr. McCurry. Council? Comments or questions? A couple of things I note, we've experienced it as well, certainly the cost of applications, we feel that here as well, so that resonates. And you likely remember this from previous times. Our practice is generally to hear the comments and questions of a delegation and bring it back with some requests from staff for additional information for the next meeting so that we can make a decision. So the things that I'm seeing in here that are requests are whether or not you've got the municipal association, but whether or not we consider a resolution for UBCM, that sort of thing.
In response, it's just saying that all municipalities should sit and say, we have to change the application process. It takes a large organization to move the application. Like, I'm sorry, I'm still upset about ours was turned down because we didn't spend $10,000 on geothermal on a hypothetical project on a hypothetical location. Now tell me why we would spend $10,000, we don't even know the building. Required of the application. Makes sense.
Okay, so I'm just making sure I understand the request. So might be something like a resolution to UBCM on the items that we've discussed. You're referencing our fees, so we can get some information back from staff on that. And I think as well, permissive tax exemptions. Those are things that are in our toolbox, so there are specific things there that we can consider. But part of this is the lobby back up to the province that I think
if the system isn't changed. And it's just the cost, the escalation costs and everything versus the limited rental income that's in a large percentage of our population. It's kind of that simple.
Okay, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you so much for coming and all the work that you do to support those in our community. So just maybe a question through to staff. So I noticed on this delegation request form, correct me if I'm wrong, we're on section 5.1, is that correct?
Yeah, and Councillor Patterson, I'm just gonna jump in. We'll get a report back from staff, so this is an opportunity just to talk to the delegation.
Okay, so sorry, my question is through to the delegation.
Okay, yeah.
If I can, just a little bit of clarity, so the topic for discussion as submitted on the delegation request form is if the town of Smithers would consider support for the development of a housing project on the Hilltop property. But then I've also just received this handwritten letter, which I haven't read it, you just spoke to it, but I'm just having a hard time just following what the request is. So just a little bit of clarity would help me greatly.
Okay, what I'm saying, so A, project's been turned down. B, we have not had a subsequent meeting, which we will probably do, just to ensure that the questions on the application process, we've dealt with them properly. But other than that, we were turned down because we did spend $10,000 on the geothermal study. It was the first kick out. So that project is dead. We still own that property. The society still owns 2 other properties. They will make future applications. What we're saying, unless the system changes, it doesn't matter. You can't build affordable housing at today's costs and discussion without government subsidies. The days of the group going out and raising some money and getting a mortgage and operating on break even don't exist because of the cost of construction.
Anyone else? Okay, so I think I have captured the asks. And again, this will come back to our next agenda with some information from staff that will help us make the decisions. And while I accept the housing need is critical, in terms of applications for this specific property. The other one you required that 2 weeks isn't gonna make a difference.
But there's no time, now they've been turned down. There'll be a call for more applications, I'm sorry, you probably know the dates, I don't know. There'll be another call next year. They just awarded the last 3,500 units. So it's more about saying, if we want to get these units, we have to figure out a way to afford them for centers. And right now, there is no way.
Okay,
That's
thank you. Thanks for the energy in trying to create the housing, and we'll consider at the next meeting if there's something we can do to help.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, so Councilor Ray, I can see you struggling to hear. Are you able to hear the delegation, Mike?
Yeah, the delegation mic sounds like a little like it's underwater, but I'm better with the headphones.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring the next delegation up, and if you lose the audio, feel free to interrupt, and we'll just struggle to make sure that you can hear it. So the delegation's hearing that, feel free to interrupt too. So we'll all adapt on the fly to make it as good as possible for the audio. And second delegation, come on up. Skate park folks. And again, for the record, if you don't mind, then just introductions for the record, and you've got 10 minutes, and we have a few minutes to ask questions. Over to you, and welcome.
Mayor Atwell.
Oh, can you push that? Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Atwell. I'm Sarah Fitzmaurice, and I'm a member of the Smithers Skate Park Society. One of the members who supports the fundraising and project management of the phase 1 and phase 2 of the skate park expansion. You all likely know that we're in phase 2. I have previously submitted a drawing of the large poured concrete sign we plan to put facing the highway. So a drawing has been submitted to council, and we've also submitted a document that is a budget versus secured funds to show that we have the funds to take on this project, this phase 2 of our expansion. I'm also with Christy Sasha. She is my board chair for the Smithers Skate Park Society. In terms of an update, we have not submitted a project plan yet because we do not know our start date. Our skate park construction company will either be able to begin on the 3rd week of July or the, second week of July or the 3rd week of August. And we will find out this Friday what our start date is with the construction crew. They will be likely here for between 3 and 4 weeks. We are ready with our site prep and drainage phases are complete. We wanted to update council on how we have been interacting with town staff. So per request of the town staff, we have submitted photos of the pipes that were used in the drainage phase. We've also sought feedback from and met with the town staff to incorporate their feedback as we look at the design for the landscaping that was submitted in 2022 versus what we will actually create as a detailed design. The feedback we received was really important because we want to make sure that the park is maintenance friendly. And they've provided some really useful feedback. We've also been working with the town staff on the Modi referral. We've learned that because it is a large sign with footings, that it's the size of it, we need to work with a structural engineer, which we are doing. And we also learned that if the sign is the size and faces the highway, that we need to have that referral from Modi. So it will be a process of working with the town staff, ourselves and Modi. So we're in that process right now. I think that's the extent of our update. And
Thanks. Anything else? Not any, okay. Council questions or comments? Councilor Raymond.
Just a really quick comment. So we hosted NCLGA very recently. So that was local government coming from all over the north, and they were actually here in Smithers. And I had a lot of delegates asking me how in the world we managed to get such an incredible skate park. And they were wondering like what grants we accessed or like how we made that happen. And I was so incredibly happy to share the story again and again about how your society has stepped up and created this incredible piece of recreational opportunity and community. So I know that a lot of them are going to go back to their hometowns and they're going to connect with societies or suggest the start of societies. So your ripple effect will be felt across the north, I think.
Thank you for that. Thanks, Sam.
Any other councillors? Councillor Beaman?
I noticed on your summary for the evening, you're gonna talk about what you're doing in 2024 and in the summer of 2025, and then it says you're requesting a letter of support or a grant application. Can you say a little bit more about that letter of support?
Sure, that was an edit, we asked the town staff to edit out the request for a grant. We do not need that grant to move our budget.
Okay, thank you.
And regarding your comment about phase 3 and 4, we think it's probably better to do an additional delegation in the fall. We have more information about a funding partner that we found that might support us for that in those phases.
I was just confused because I saw here that you were gonna request a letter of support and I didn't read the request. So, but anyway, now it makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for that, Councillor Beaman, I saw it as well. So that we do take our homework away and actually get it done, so we appreciate that. Thanks for doing an update. It is nice to hear back from things that are going on in the community. And I've got to say, sometimes it's lovely to hear them without a request. So it kind of keeps us better prepped for when there is a request, so I appreciate that. And just so I can very close contact with staff as well. And I'll echo what Councillor Raven said, I heard that feedback too. People would come out into the lobby of the new arena, so they were looking straight over. And especially the first day when it's really hot, sunny, it's a lot of action, and so it drew a lot of attention. So yeah, thanks for your work, thanks for staying in touch with staff and building a great event.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, where we're at the public comment period. So this is an opportunity if you want to speak to something that is on the agenda. And it might not feel like a fair thing to do for public comment, but we're going to keep people to 3 minutes. We have a really big agenda and I need to know which item that you're speaking to that might affect decision making. So if you would like to speak to an item on the agenda, please come to the microphone, identify yourself and the item. Now, one mic is on, so when it's red, it's on, and if it's for the other mic, just press the button, it goes live. So please introduce yourselves for the record, and you have the floor for 3 minutes.
My name is Nick Tejas. And we are, and we are operators of the Elevate Cascade Smithers Regional Airport. We opened on May 4th, soft opening, and have been operating since. Our current hours are 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and we are operating 7 days a week. Our goal is to extend our hours into the late afternoon to meet the needs of the afternoon flight. And we would also like to proceed with the
application for a device. Yeah, so our hope is to be able to extend our hours and just create a more sustainable current cafe with like be able to offer.
Sorry, I'm just gonna get you to come to the mic. We have one person listening virtually struggling to hear, so if you don't mind.
Okay, our hope is to extend our hours at the airport cafe just to make it a little bit more sustainable, and a liquor license would definitely help that, so we could increase our hours.
That's it.
and we're very excited to be there.
Thank you. And in this period, it's a little different than the other. We don't entertain a question and answer in this part. So we've heard from you. We thank you for your time and we will be considering It is, for council's benefit, it's 14.9 and 19.1 brought forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And if there's anyone else who would like to speak to something on the agenda, please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor Otto, and council for the opportunity to speak. This is on 14.9. I just thought for you to make a decision, maybe you need a flight attendant's perspective. And this is written by a flight attendant, so I'll read it all. Okay. One of the most difficult aspects of customer service agent and flight attendant roles is to handle intoxicated or unruly passengers. Needless to say, alcohol consumption prior to flights only increases these circumstances. From a flight attendant perspective, there is a heavy reliance on customer service agents properly assessing passengers prior to boarding. But unfortunately, not everything gets noticed in advance. It can be quite hard for the flight attendant to properly assess intoxicated level upon boarding, as the initial interaction is very brief. And there are always other passengers in need of assistance in the boarding process as well. If someone was obviously not sober on board before takeoff, flight attendant is to initiate the process to have the passengers deplaned prior to takeoff. And you can't expect compliance in these circumstances. These are by no means family friendly scenarios for other passengers to witness. All language, possible aggression, oppositional behavior, not to mention the inconvenience of a delayed flight. Airlines have a zero tolerance policy in place with regards to intoxication on unruly passengers. So the outcome of having an inebriated passenger on board can range from a delayed flight to a diverted flight, and even RCMP being called to escort the passenger off the aircraft. The cost and inconvenience for the rest of the passengers and the airline for this disruption are not insignificant. In addition, the airlines already sell alcohol on board. The altitude increases the effect of inebriation, so even if they were okay on the ground after 1 or 2, a whiskey on the rocks in the air could be a tipping point. Handling these circumstances in the air are incredibly difficult and can be unsafe. Example, someone who had one too many in the emergency exit row. It just does not make sense to increase the chances of unruly passengers getting on board the aircraft by increasing alcohol consumption availability prior to boarding. So that's just for your information to think about when you discuss that. Thank you for your time.
Thank
And the good work that you do.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else wanting to speak to the public comment? Oh, and Ms. Mendel, can you turn the mic for us? Thank you. It's okay, I saw that sign language. Alrighty, seeing none, we don't have a public hearing tonight. Council, we're moving on to the 8s. So 8.1, the minutes from, what's the date? April 23rd for approval, please. Councilor Patterson, Councilor Raven, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Councilor Ray, are you hearing okay?
Yes, thank you. It's better. The only thing the headphones helped with was the delegation mic, and now the delegation mics are off. You guys are all clear.
Okay, good. I can just see your facial reactions, so you don't get to be a poker face. There we go. Okay, and 8.2, and these are the minutes from April 30th for approval, please. Councilor Buchanan, Councilor Raymond. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. The minutes from May 9th, special open. Councillor Patterson, Councillor Raven, discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. And finally, 8-4, committee of the whole from May 9th. Councillor Patterson, Councillor Newcomb, discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, Mr. Schroeder. Can you help me with the items to be released, please?
Thank you, Mayor. There was one motion or one item that was released to the public. Generally, I'll surmise it. A number of members were appointed to the Select Committee on Community Safety and Wellbeing, that being Jael Leet, Kristen Geet, Lauren Benson, Sherry McKinnon, Kiara McLean, Mark DeHood, Katie Lual, Barbara Ball, and Staff Sergeant Mark Smale as an advisory representative. And there additionally will be a re-advertisement of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Committee membership as we are seeking a national representative.
Thanks, Mr. Schroeder. Appreciate that. Okay, and we are at the council reports. So first off, I have Councillor Newcomb.
Thanks, Mayor. So, I only have one item to report on. I missed the last council meeting, and did not report on it there because I had a family member passed away in Winnipeg. But early in May, I attended a reconciliation event on Saturday. It's a wonderful event. There was a lot of drumming that was done. It was fairly good turnout. And I even stepped way out of my comfort zone by actually participating in the drumming, which is definitely way out of my comfort zone. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Newcomb. Thanks for attending. We were low on folks in town and available that day. I really appreciate it. Okay, Councillor Elliott isn't here, but we do have the library report. And if you have questions, you're just going to have to hang on for Councillor Elliott's staff. Councillor Leonard has some regrets for this evening. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Worship. I just had one recommended option for consideration. I'm just looking to Mr. Gilbert to see if I'm doing this correctly. I think it's just for information, or if you're looking for the motion for council's consideration. Sorry.
Thank you. This would be your opportunity to make that motion for council's consideration.
Thank you so much. So I would just say the motion is as stated. I would recommend an option, and I'm happy to answer questions. Should council have any?
Councillor Patterson, for clarity, are you moving the language that's behind recommended option? Just so we may.
Yes.
Okay, and just because we've got people here, the recommended option is that council consider stepping down as a liaison of the Smithers Health Committee. Is there a seconder? Councillor Reyes, your hand. I'm not sure if you're seconding or have a question. You're seconding? Okay, it's seconded. It's on the floor. Thank you. It's been awkward. Councillor Patterson, would you like to speak to it?
I think I'm okay, your worship. If Councillor Reyes has a question, I'm happy to answer.
Councillor Reyes, do you have a comment? Your hand is up. So.
Yeah, I actually did, and I reached out to Councillor Thomas, former Councillor Thomas, who was the last liaison to this committee, and she found value in it, but she did say that, and I hope I'm not paraphrasing her too much, that the value in being on the committee was mostly in just keeping that committee informed on what council was doing, but also sometimes bringing back news to council from the committee. But she did actually say there wasn't actually a real role to it. My thought would be that if another councillor wanted to give it a try, that maybe that might be worthwhile. That being said, I don't have time to do it. So I just thought before we withdrew from that, might be good to see if there's any other counselors that would be interested.
Councillor Patterson.
Thank you so much. So while I appreciate the sentiment, I should just say that, maybe a prerequisite to this report is actually the training that was done, by George Cuff. So maybe perhaps I might circulate that for council's consideration for those who were in attendance. There was some pretty clear recommendations that were provided as far as allocation of council's time to specific committees that are advancing our strategic priorities that are really focused on driving sort of strategies or objectives. I guess to me, it just feels a bit disingenuous just to replace myself, and that's not what I'm recommending. I'm trying to stick to some of the recommendations that were made by a professional and how councils allocate their time, but open to that discussion. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Patterson. Anyone else? So I'm gonna jump in as well. I think the only comments I have is this, with Councillor Patterson, of course. The Smithers Health Committee formerly was a committee of council. Some number of years, council made a decision, former council made a decision to reduce the number of committees, and the health committee was then kept going as a community committee. And so I think the question is whether or not there is value, as Councillor Ray described, in having someone attend to keep the thread going. And Councillor Patterson and I have talked about this before, but there are some committees that council attends, and the position as a liaison that doesn't have the same directive as a select or standing committee, one of our more formal committees. So the motion is on the floor. We'll take the direction as council votes. I think this might be one though where I don't mind occasionally stepping in to see if there's a better way. We've also been asked to consider whether or not we wanted to reinvigorate the connection between the health committee and the town. So I think there's some future considerations, especially considering community health, while not our direct responsibility. We all know it's an unofficial responsibility that we see the results of on a regular basis. And as the delegate to the Northwest Regional Hospital District, I probably see more of the legislative parts of that than others, and Councillor Ray attends on occasion. But I think so we could follow the recommendation that Councillor Patterson has, and just really not be a part of the health committee, or permit someone to become a liaison or occasionally drop in. So Councillor, your thoughts. Councillor Ray.
So while I understand that sometimes more formal committees have set goals and follow the SMART attributes, I do believe that there is value to have council on certain committees, even if they don't seem to be achieving an end goal. So that being said, I understand that Councillor Patterson wants to step down, and that's fantastic. That's what suits her pleasure, but I think we should explore it and see if there's any other councillors that would be willing to step in, and even if it's bi-monthly or just doing more of a check-in. I just think that there are some threads there that are very beneficial.
Yep, thanks, Councillor Raven. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you so much. So once again, I'd just like to reiterate that I understand what this council is saying, and at that specific George Cuff training, it was a general conversation around all different committees, not just ones where there's a differentiation between appointment. I completely understand the differentiation between those appointments. So when you look at the Smithers Health Committee goal and purpose, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets, I would just say there's never been a conversation specific to how we advance those. There's no strategies, there's no priorities. Most of the time there may be 3, maybe 4 members. The list that you see there is not up to date. Yeah, I guess I just think that to me, it sounds like what I'm hearing from council is that it's a personal preference that I don't prefer to join. That's not what I'm suggesting whatsoever. The discussions that are had at that table, I can share some of the agenda items. It's 3 or 4 bullets around existing venues that are happening in the community. So as an example, the last meeting minutes that went out is just to say that they're discussing doing a public health interagency fair, which is actually something that I ended up recommending as a councillor, and then doing it free in my spare time to facilitate a conversation, which is actually outside the scope of what that committee was supposed to do. to talk about recommendations and how we improve community, Smithers, community health. It's absolutely the number one thing that I'm most passionate about, and actually one of the number one committees I was most excited to be appointed to. The conversations that are had at the table time and time again are, we're delivering Meals on Wheels, we're thinking about doing a brown paper bag luncheon for seniors. There are basic things that I think that could be sent out in a monthly email potentially from the committee. Again, I just think it's disingenuous to take that training that was provided to us and then just to suggest that we would just replace it with someone else, because it's nice to catch up with people. So I just want to be very clear, I'm going above and beyond to help to support this committee and improving community health within our community. I'm going above and beyond to volunteer a significant amount of my time outside of my capacity as council. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Patterson. I can hear the frustration in your voice. I'm just gonna say that, as a liaison, there is sometimes an opportunity to figure out what the connection is between the municipality and other agencies. And so, because the recommendation is the council stops going, I think that is a bigger decision than what we're hearing is maybe not all council support that. So, as a way forward, and we're gonna vote motion on the table. So we're going to vote on that, and if that doesn't pass, then we can consider whether or not someone wants to attend that committee. And if not, that's fine. I mean, as any member of council can attend community meetings if they want, and it could come back to council for a recommendation later. Council.
Thanks, Mayor. I would. Just listening to the conversation, I find it hard to vote on this one, and part of me wishes we were voting on it at a time when we also had Councillor Elliott and Councillor Leonard around the table, because it could very well be that there is a volunteer amongst us to replace Councillor Patterson. But because there's only 4 of us here tonight, we have no idea if Councillor Leonard or Councillor Elliott might be willing to step in Councillor Patterson's place.
With that consideration, Councillor Buchanan, if you think that's an important, a motion to postpone is in order. And the language of that, free to make it because it matters, could be, it could be to a time, or it could be to a meeting where the best estimate is that all of council will be, so it's a little bit ambiguous how this will work, because we don't always know when all of council will be there. However, it could be circulated. So sorry, that was a bit of a ramble, but because once you make the motion to postpone, we are restricted in what we talk about. So back to you.
Okay, I'm happy to move to postpone, but it's really difficult. I'm just gonna move that we postpone it to our first full council meeting in June, and trust that we'll have everyone there.
The motion to postpone is to the first full council meeting in June, so that would be the. Someone got a calendar?
June 11th.
Thank you. That's okay.
Thank you.
So a motion requires the seconder, but the motion is postponed until the June 11th meeting. Is there a seconder? Councilor Ray seconds. Now discussion is fairly confined, so it's to postponement, not to the meat of the matter. Councilor Ray, has your hand up? Okay. So to postponement, you could discuss the date. All right, seeing none on the motion to postpone, all in favor? And opposed? The motion is carried unanimously. All right, thanks, folks. We are at, actually, Councilor Patterson, is there anything else in your report? No. Okay, Councilor Raven.
I circulated a printed copy of my report. There's quite a bit because we didn't meet because of NCLGA. So I just wanted to say that it was wonderful to connect with all the other municipalities. And I also wanted to highlight that there was a red dress event on May the 5th that I attended. It was hosted at the RCMP detachment outside, and then there was a barbecue in Woodset.
Thanks. Any questions or comments from Councilor Raven? All right, thanks for attending that. Okay, and for handing in your report, appreciate it. Okay, Councilor Ray.
I don't have anything to report other than to say, I was able to attend the last 2 days of NCLGA, and thanks to our staff and the staff that we hired and the staff of the other NCLGA and the other host communities. I think we did a great job, not just based on what I saw, but also on what I heard. People were very impressed. And so good job to everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Wright, and thanks for your participation at NCLG as well. Okay, my report is there. It's in a few parts. So first up is just the list on strategic priorities, and that's for information. 11.2 of the notice of motion was at the last meeting, so the motion is here. So I'm going to move it. And because we have people in the gallery, I'll read it. So I'm going to move. The council authorized letter sent to the Minister of Waterlands and Resource Stewardship, the Honorable Nathan Cullen, the Federal Minister and the Federal Minister of Oceans and Canadian Fisheries and Oceans and Canadian Coast Guard, the Honorable Diane Laboutier, and to our MP Taylor Backrack in regard to the following. The council would like a timely response to the concerns expressed over the future of recreational commercial angling for steelhead and some species of salmon in the upper Skeena system. Is there a second? Councilor Reagan seconds. And I'm not going to reiterate the background because we saw it last time and it's here again. So if there's questions or comments over the floor, Councilor Ray.
Sorry, I appreciate that I wasn't at the last meeting when it was raised or when the motion of notice was given. I'm in support of it. I was just wondering if part of the conversation, and I think it needs to be addressed, is the bycatch in the Alaska fisheries. That's something that our Department of Fisheries needs to start addressing.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Just for clarification, you'd like that as an additional bullet in the letter?
If it wasn't one of the concerns that was raised before, I believe it should be. If other councillors don't, then that's, I'll listen to that for sure.
Okay, thanks, Councilor Ray. Anyone else? I'm not seeing anyone, so I think we can just take that as a concern. And if there's no other comments, so just call vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Okay, and report 11.7.3, it's time of year when we need to affirm the position of deputy mayor, and the recommendation is there. Someone would like to make a motion? That's right. Oh, Mr. Shorter.
Apologies, Your Worship. You have the authority as designated in the procedure bylaw to make that appointment.
All right, thank you for the clarity. I should know that. Done then. Council Ray has, I think all of council knows that, but Council Ray with institutional memory plus the willingness to attend the external meetings when required, it's been very helpful. And he is very welcome at the Vulcan and Chaco Regional District, where they enjoy telling me that they like the other guy. So, there we go. Okay, thanks, Councilor Ray. So a couple of other things. I've got my narrative report here, but there's only a couple of things I'm going to pull off of there. And the first is a little improv, I guess. This is the last meeting where we will have the pleasure of Mr. Wallace joining us at the meeting. We have sadly accepted his decision to move on to greener pastures or southern pastures. And I just want to take the time in public to thank you for the time that you've spent here, through the amazing work you've done. You have worked diligently in our finance department and with the other departments, but particularly in finance, to create systems that are going to work. And you picked up a system that was not in the best condition when you came, and you have left it in a condition that someone else will be able to come and move forward well. And we are very grateful for that and recognize the amount of effort it took for you to do that, the work and the diligence, and I can say the quirky humor that went along with that from time to time. So thank you for that. Mr. Wallace was said, as you go, and wish you all the best where you go. So from my heart, thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
And we will find ways to ask you questions this evening. Surprise ones. And one other thing, I just wanted to echo what Councillor Ray said, for NCLGA. I remember, and I thank you, Councillor Ray, for saying that. Councillor Ray is the person who urged us to be cautious with what we were asking staff to do. Someone asked me if I wanted to host NCLGA again next week, I'd probably say no. But, staff, holy moly, Mr. Schroeder, Alana, and all the people that you, roiled in to the team and working with the NCLGA event planner. I can't say thank you enough to Mr. Dewar, who had to deal with whatever craziness came from me. When I landed in his office with whatever concern I had at any particular day, to the work staff who dug in, made it look pretty, took care of the gardens and the banners, to all of you who worked really hard, and I'm sure there's things that happened that I missed. We received incredible feedback for the quality of the organization, the quality of the food. We can't take responsibility for the food, but Riverside Kitchen and the team were extraordinary. People left here happy. Thanks for making the platform for the statue, the gift that we received from Chetwynd. I know it was a full court press. I know it was a lot of work, and it was noted by all the attendees. And I just want you to know that council is grateful for the amount of work that you did. Thank you very, very much. Okay, that's the last of me. Well, right now, how's it going?
I just wanted to thank you for those words you said to Mr. Wallace. I don't know if we're getting an opportunity later in the meeting to also say something to him, because if not, I just wanted to also say how thankful I am for the proper asset management plan we now have in place. And I think Mr. Wallace has given tremendous leadership to that. And I think it's going to serve us very well going into the future. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Duke, and thanks for actually just reminding me that other people might want to say something, so maybe we can make Mr. Wallace blush if anyone else wants to say something. Just looking at it finally, Councillor Reagan.
So incredibly sad to see you go, so happy that you have this next chapter ahead of you. One of the most overwhelming things when I became a counselor was finance, when you see the spreadsheets and the asset management and all the columns and all the colors. And I remember the first finance meeting, I was taken aback and really wondered, how am I going to get through this? And then you went through and explained it in such a way that now it makes sense. I'm confident in my decisions and I understand most of it. There's still some clarifying questions that I have to ask at the meetings, but I do have to say is that was incredibly appreciated, and just wishing you all the best. And you are welcome to just rescind your resignation, just to bring it out there too.
Councillor Ray.
Yes, well, we're extending congratulations. I'm sad that I can't be there in person to see you off, give you a handshake, and wish you well in the future. I do want to thank you so much for restoring a lot of what we had before COVID. Sometimes I would have a recollection of very vague recollection, and you always seem to come through with an answer as to what had happened, or you restored something that happened before. So I really appreciated that. And I got to say, you've been a magician with our grant funding. The amount of times that you've moved stuff around to make our grant dollars go further has been greatly appreciated. And the value of your service to the community is, we can't put a price on it. So thank you very much, and good luck in the future.
Okay. Alrighty, we're gonna move on. Okay, we are at the 14s, folks. How is everyone doing? Are you okay? Okay, we'll carry on and get my attention later. So we're at 14.1, report from Ms. LeBlanc on the town of Smithers privacy management policy with a recommendation. Councillor Raven is moving it, Councillor Buchan seconds. Questions or comments for staff? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I'll vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. 14.2, report from Ms. Westberg on telematics and GPS tracking technology with the recommendation. Councilor Raven's gonna move, just get it on the floor, the seconder, please. Councilor Newton, thank you. Questions? Councilor Ray?
Sorry, I just wanted to say, it's a kind of a good segue off of the last report. I'm not a big fan of tracking technology when there's staff involved, but I think both Ms. Westberg and Ms. LeBlanc have done a very good job of their two reports in making sure that this won't be weaponized in the future against staff. So I really appreciate that, and that has allowed me to kind of overcome my personal bias against this sort of thing and to support.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Councilor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just curious, why the cost wasn't actually, included. I know it says that it's, low cost, but I was just curious.
Mr. Schroeder.
Thank you, Mayor. The cost isn't incorporated into this report as it's sort of outside the scope. The main purpose of this report is regarding the telematics policy. The actual implementation of telematics was part of the budget deliberations, though I'm certain we could provide that information if council wished for it.
Anything else? Okay, ready to vote? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Okay, we are at 14. It was 14 through, but anyway, still 14 through. It is the one from Tourism Centers. I'm going to recuse, and Councilor Newton will take the chair. The company I work for has a contract with Tourism Centers.
Council, we have a recommendation in front of us in 14.3, moved by Councilor Raven. Is there a seconder? Councilor Patterson. Any discussion? Councilor Raven.
I'm in favor of this recommendation, and I just think it's really nice that we have the gateway signs back. I know it's brought up again, I know I keep mentioning in CLGA, but just the delegate saying is how neat it was to be able to see the sign at either end, welcoming them. And I see right now that it's there's midsummer up as well as the wildlife shelters January or July 1st event. So I'm just really happy to have those gateway signs.
Anyone else? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty, we're at 14.4, the annual municipal report with the recommendations. Councilor Newton, all of them?
I'll move all three.
Thank you, and a seconder, Councilor Raven. All right, discussion, comments. Councilor Newton.
Thank you, Mayor Ethel. Just a general comment. I really enjoyed reading through it. It just gave a wonderful snapshot of the year. Tons of information, and I want to thank staff for putting that together. I'm not sure, I imagine there was a number of different people who were responsible, but I just really enjoyed sitting back and reading it. It feels like you're accomplishing something in the staff. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Newton, nicely said. Yeah. Often when we get to this report in a big agenda, it's kind of like just moves that get done because it's a big report, and it's just worth acknowledging the amount of work that goes into it. And I think you're right, there's multiple contributors. But one thing I did notice is things not 100%, but are starting to sound like the same voice, so it's sounding like it's coming from the municipality. And that's a nice thing too, so yeah, I appreciate it. There's no other comments, I'll vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And we. Where did that? We do that. Okay, so we are at 14.5 and the lease with Enterprise proposed Mr. Schroeder with the recommendation. Councilor Raven moves and a seconder. Councilor Raven, thank you. Any discussion? Any? Okay, I just have one and I feel like I should know this, and it's just because I see the other one coming up. With the names of the companies, this is the same company that we've had. Okay, so it's just a rework on how we do things. Okay, I see that all from Mr. Blackwood. Okay. Ready? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously, and I'm going to recuse again because my partner works for Frontier. So Councilor Bigman, thank you.
Okay, council, once again, we have a recommendation in front of us regarding Frontier Chrysler. Is there someone willing to move the recommendation? Councilor Raven, seconder. Councilor Patterson. Discussion. Councilor Raven.
I'm sorry, I thought I should be talking less since I'm remote, but it's not working very well. I was just wondering, because it says a lease agreement renewal, is Frontier Chrysler currently on a month-to-month?
Mr. Schreiber.
Thank you, Chair Bigman. No, that would be an error in the report. This is a new lease brought forward for council consideration. So this is a new tenant at the airport.
That's what I thought. Thank you for that clarification. Councilor Ray, anything further?
It's been known in the community that second space has been empty, so I'm satisfied that that Frontier is the only one interested in this time, and I'm glad to see, and I can't remember if it was the other report or this report, that at the end of these 5 years that it will go out for public expression of interest for the spaces in 5 years.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Councilor Raymond.
I just wanted to comment quickly and say I think this is really exciting to have that second space be filled. I know from talking to people in industry, tourism, it's hard to get a car rental all the time. Unfortunately, one company can't necessarily keep up. So I'm really hoping that this will help bridge some of those gaps. So I think this is exciting.
Thanks, Councilor Raymond. Yeah, I was thinking about this as well, and I think the enterprise fleet is more cars and SUVs, and I think it'll be a wonderful addition to the services provided at the airport, because I have no doubt that there are people coming off those planes that are looking for a truck rental, not always a car rental. So I think it's a great addition to the airport. Okay, if there's no one else, then I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, 14.7, because we're reporting Mr. Schroeder on the MDIT capacity building funding. Let's just get the recommendation on the floor. Councilor Raven, Councilor Bigman, thank you. And any questions or comments for staff? Councilor Raven.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question. Under resource considerations, it says the remaining 10% totaling 30,000 could be funded from the human resources and planning operating budgets. Is that the existing budgets, or would that be in addition to the existing budgets?
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Mr. Schroeder.
Thank you, Mayor. That would be the existing operating budgets of those departments.
That's good, Councilor. Okay. Anyone else? Councilor Ray.
I just really like seeing these capacity building grants. I know that we're always looking, or we have the need for staff, so I just think it's fantastic. And we can find a grant to help cover those kinds of costs. So this is, I really hope we're successful.
Thanks, Councilor Raymond. Not seeing any other hands, call the vote, all in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Okay, 14A, a report from Mr. Blackburn on the tree clearing project with a 4-part recommendation. Councilor Bigman.
I'll move all 4 parts.
Thank you, and a seconder, Councilor Raven. Questions, Councilor Bigman?
I don't have any questions, just one general comment. I was just reading through this report. I was just really happy to hear that it'll be partly funded through the sale of timber. I just think that's a great way to fund the project. So thanks for a creative funding model. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Bigman. Councilor Raven, Councilor Raven.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask Mr. Blackburn, so I really appreciate the report. The recommendation raised some questions and they were all answered very well in the report. I was just wondering for number 2 as an alternate, I understand that if we ask for it now that it would be endanger the implications would be negative. Could you speak on whether this would be a good thing to let's get the trees down that we need to right now, and then in the future look at the complete clearing? Would that head off further problems if we address that next after our needs are met now?
Mr. Blackburn.
Thank you, Maracho. I guess a 2-part answer to your question would be yes and no. Part of the discussions we've had with the contractor that's given us a quote to date is this property cleanup. So to rake up all the debris, clear off all the small little trees and stuff that won't be going for merchantable timber and get them out of the way. So really all we're left with is the stumps. And in the future, we can pick away at and move and bring forward a future project to stump the property. And then we can slowly start eating away at making that area more easy to brush and clear up quickly rather than get back into a treed situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Good, Councilor Ray. Councilor Ray.
Councilor Ray asked my question, so fantastic.
Okay, any other questions? All right, and I'll just echo thanks for the report. It helped me get through. That's great, thank you. All right, let's all vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that is carried unanimously. 14.9, report from Mr. Blackburn on the Elevate Cafe. And if council is willing, we'll just move forward 19.1. I think I mentioned it at the start, but I might not have. So with consent, we'll just bring 19.1 forward. And there is a recommendation, if someone would like to put it on the table. Let's write it in. Is there a seconder? Councilor Bigman, thank you. Open for questions and discussion. Councilor Reagan.
I'm in favor of both. I think that it would add to the cafe to be able to serve alcohol. And also there is legislation surrounding what a server can and cannot do. So they have to be very careful in how much alcohol they serve to their clients at any given time. So I'm confident that an operator can do that responsibly. And yeah, increasing hours, if that's viable, that's fantastic. So I'm in favor of the staff recommendation.
Thanks, Councilor Reagan. Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Patterson, go ahead. So it's a bit of a tangent, so this might be more to Mr. Blackburn. I had some feedback just about the service at the airport, and there is a lot of gratitude for having the food service at the airport. But the question, and we've dealt with it before, is what does it mean to get stuff on the departure lounge side, since that's where people have time to relax. And I know we've dealt with it, but because I just started getting feedback from the public again, I think it's worthy of discussion. So Mr. Blackburn, through.
Thank you, Mayor Atchell, and I'm glad you asked the question. Our current operator, Elevate Cafe, is currently working with me, meeting all the recommendations of Transport Canada to get kiosks on the secure side. So we're 1/4 of that step ahead of this time. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to share that out. Mr. Blackburn.
And just to clarify that will not include alcohol on that side. It will just be coffee and snacks.
Thank you for that. Okay, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Worship. I was just curious if there was any liability or policy that we needed to consider, or if it falls strictly just on the operator itself.
To Mr. Blackburn, Councillor Patterson.
Sure, please.
Here, Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. So the requirements from the Liquor Control Board, BC Liquor Control Board, require that the owner of the property consent to the sales of alcohol. The liability would fall back to the operator if it was not served right or any of those things that falls under their license. It's not on town license. It's just approval in principle that we're.
And just one more, if I may, you talked about extending hours, but is it fair to say that the hours would match flight schedules?
Through the council, that's always been the intent as best as we can. And one of the new models, or the new model that we're operating under, is to give the operator latitude to make changes as they need to make them as viable as possible. Because we're not paying them, it's really up to the operator to decide as best as they can, whatever works best for them. To make money and to make this space viable, that's what they're going to be able to do. So we're really not going to be in control of hours. We're just going to encourage them to do exactly that.
Awesome. Mr. Shorten.
Thank you. I did want to supplement Mr. Blackburn's answer on the liability. The town will always be subject to the occupier liability, as we are the owner of the building should someone slip and trip or otherwise become injured while on site.
Councillor Wright.
Yeah, just before I start speaking, I just want to clarify that the Liquor Licensing and Control Board has nothing to do with it. It's not the same thing as what I do for a living, so that's why I'm not recusing myself. When I first read this, my initial reaction was fairly negative. I've been on flights before. One where the pilot had to come and very explicitly threaten to turn back to Smithers because there were several people that were inebriated on board. But then I realized there was no bar in the airport when that happened. So people are going to act irresponsibly regardless. And actually, in this case, if the alcohol is available, then the operators that will have their serving it right are trained in recognizing inebriation. They have a legal responsibility not to overserve. So I don't think that this is going to create any different problems than another restaurant, because people could drive out to the airport and have a drink or two, but it's the same as any other restaurant. You're going to a restaurant, you're getting drinks. So I can support this in principle, and I would hope that if there were any problems, that the proponent would be able to work with the airport and find a way to alleviate those problems.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Councillor Beagle.
Thank you, Mayor. While I appreciate what Mr. Penner was trying to say at the beginning of our meeting, I have no doubt that the owners of the restaurant will carefully supervise the sale of alcohol. And I also think it is challenging to run a restaurant at the airport when the only customers you have are the people who are on those 2 flights a day. And I think if you can diversify a little bit and also get town residents coming to your restaurant, the sale of alcohol could help with that. The one sentence in the report which said the sale of alcohol may contribute to a more financially sustainable business model kind of spoke to me, because I know we're happy to have somebody willing to operate a restaurant at the airport, and if this can help in that regard, then it has my support. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Beekman. Councillor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. One last comment, actually, triggered by what Councillor Ray had mentioned. When I think about restaurants, we do have a segregation between areas where you consume liquor versus families. So I just wonder, as part of this authorization, does that include a design of the current cafe? Thank you.
Mr. Blackburn.
Thank you. It doesn't include a new design. What it does require is that we've engaged our architect to come up with a seating capacity. And the operator's working with the liquor control group to the licensing group to define exactly what that separation must be. This is a food primary liquor license, so families will still be able to consume food there, and they'll also be able to serve alcohol. What that partition looks like, we're not exactly sure yet. It could be something as small as one of the ribbons that separates the kiosks now from the check-in. We don't know exactly, but that's part of the licensing.
Councillor Ryan.
Well, I'm just thinking to so many of the local restaurants where that already occurs. I mean, I take my family out and sometimes you have a drink or a glass of wine with your dinner. So yeah, I think this is something I can definitely support.
Thanks, Councillor Reagan. Okay, I'm ready. All in favor? Any opposed? And that carries unanimously. Thanks, folks. Okay, we are at 1410, report from Mr. Allen on the DBP for 3064 Highway 16 with the recommendation. Something? No, recommendations then. Someone's volunteers with it. Did I miss something? Everybody's looking at me. That's right. Sometimes I miss something. We're moving? Sorry. Okay, so we are moving to recommendation. Okay, good. And a seconder, Councillor Newton, a second. Discussion. Okay, and just thanks for the extra information, Mr. Allen, from the last time. I appreciate it. Councillor Ray.
So I just have two questions. One is just clarifying my understanding of the report. And that would be that the proponent will still be required to widen the shoulder on the frontage road, like Hoskins Ford did.
Mr. Allen.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Actually, to Councillor Ray, yes, that is correct. The widening across the frontage of the property is approximately 1.2 meters of widening required. And that's the same as for the Hoskins Ford development in 2011. That's correct.
Sorry, and then my second question is around the septic field. How is that handled in a riparian zone, or is the property sufficiently far from the creek that they'll be able to support that?
Mr. Allen.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Angel. Yeah, that septic system is approved by Northern Health. It is it's not a municipal approval. But yes, I am aware that the proposed location is more than adequate distance from the riparian zone. If you refer to the plans attached to the report, the previous report, it's the easement area on lot A, sort of on the in the center and on the east side of the site. That's where the proposed septic system will be. So it's the furthest distance from the creek.
Thank you for that. And just while I have the floor, I support the DVP. I liked hearing that it was consistent with the one allowed for Hoskins Ford, because I voted for the one for Hoskins Ford, so I like to be consistent. So thank you for that, and thank you for your report.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Anyone else? All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, folks. 1411, report from Ms. Chandran on the Ranger Park childcare with recommendation. Someone wants to move? Councilor Raven moves, Councilor Bigma seconds. Discussion? Oh, sorry, I got my mic on. I'm gonna go to Councilor Raven first, then Councilor Ray.
I support this recommendation, and I'm just happy to see the next step in the process of trying to get a childcare facility built in the community. I do recognize that all of the operators or the expression of interest came from outside of Smithers, but I think it's just because they have the capacity and the experience.
Thanks, Councilor Raven. Councilor Ray.
Just in keeping with our tradition, I'm going to vote against this. A little bit reluctantly, in that I support, if we're going to do this, that the YMCA be the operator. The process was open and fair, so I appreciate that. But when I think about the discussions that we had about the airport water system and how badly it went over budget, and my goodness, we're not prepared for that. It was quite a shock. The exact same thing is going to happen with this childcare facility, and we seem to be okay with that. The other thing is that I really feel that we didn't give. I know that the community feels that they weren't properly consulted, that we're just now going to put a childcare facility in Ranger Park. I mean, assuming we're successful for the grant. And now all that's left is to where it's going to go. And I didn't like that process. That's nothing against staff. It's because we tried to hurry to get in for this grant. So I'll be voting against it for that reason.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Any other comments? Councilor Bigma.
Thanks, Mayor Ethel. Yeah, I support the project and support YMCA. I think they're the most logical choice. I think one of the things that won me over on this project was when Mr. Allen pointed out what a small piece of the Ranger Park footprint this facility would actually take up. I do think we have to give a lot of thought to location. I live on 16th Avenue, and this past Saturday there was a plant sale happening at Ranger Park, and there were cars everywhere. It was a bit of a gong show. So I think a lot of thought has to be given to where do we put it so that we don't make traffic on 16th Avenue really, really difficult, because it's a pretty busy street. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Bigma. Councilor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just really appreciated that staff intends to establish an internal steering committee. I think that's wonderful. But I was just a bit confused. I don't know if I can ask a question through to another councillor, but just Councillor Ray's comment about us being an operator. I don't understand, because the report says that the recommendation is that the operator would be YMCA. So just looking for further clarification.
Councilor Ray.
Sorry, I don't know if I misspoke a word there. We're not the operator, but we're the owner, and we're responsible for any cost overruns. And that was kind of my point, that I think, given experience with how things have gone, pretty much the whole time I'm on council, cost overruns are going higher and higher. It has nothing to do with the staff. It has everything to do with the inflation of building costs. And so this $10 million building that we're supposedly getting 100% grant for, if it costs us 11 or 12 or 13 million dollars, we're on the hook for the difference. So that was the point I was trying to make.
Thanks, Councilor Ray. Councilor Patterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. So question through to staff, is that correct, or are we not going to design it to budget? I appreciate what Councilor Ray is saying, so I'm just curious, how do we mitigate those? And is now the time to even mitigate those concerns, or is there gonna be ample time for staff to come back with recommendations based on this steering committee?
Thank you to Councillor Patterson through Mayor Ashwell. So this all entirely depends on how diligently the detailed project budget is prepared. So it will not be the town staff who will be working on this. We will have a consultant working on it, who has a proven experience in preparing this kind of budget for exactly the same program. So one additional benefit of having YMCA as the operator is they have had quite a large number of lot of projects approved through the same program in various parts of the province. The latest one being the Kelowna Airport one. So so they have a lot of experience, and they have already established work relationship with companies who have experience in this project budget preparation. So as per the grant application, we are required to submit at least a Class D budget estimate. So so if it is a Class D estimate, the contingency level also is significantly higher. Like it may be something like 40% of the entire project cost. Like for instance, if we are aiming, if the actual cost is maybe 10 million, and then with the contingency, we can apply for 14 million, which will be entirely approved. So it all depends on how diligently we hire that consultant and how that process is scrutinized. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Chandran. Councillor Patterson, and then we'll go to Councillor.
Thank you so much. And last question actually through, I don't know if it's to you, Ms. Chandran, or Mr. George, or both. But just recognizing that we just talked about our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, I'm just curious, would we give that plan to the steering committee or to YMCA for their consideration and how they might design the facility, just given that that was part of our discussion, or is that outside the scope completely?
Thank you through the mayor to Councillor Patterson. What I would comment is the Parks and Recreation Master Plan provides the guidance for the next 10 years and the framework for Parks and Recreation. So it's not going into the level of detail for childcare that we're talking about for this particular subject there.
Good. Councillor, okay, Mr. Allen and Mr. Jones, hands are up. Or whichever one wants to go first, or whatever you guys can decide.
Thank you, Mayor Ashwell. I just wanted really quickly add to both Ms. Chandran and Mr. George's comments that with Councillor Ray's concern about location, the staff and their consultant will be going back to the public for engagement on the exact location of the facility. We already had one round of engagement in the winter. Yeah, I think it was late winter, early spring. And that's in the plans to still complete that prior to the submission of the grant.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace.
Thank you, Mayor Ashwell. The discussions that started on getting involved in this particular program, this particular source of funding started last summer. It was always the understanding between staff and council that this was a process through each stage. So the next process that is just being entered into is the preparation of the grant application. And there is no doubt that a resolution will be required of council before that's submitted. So that's normal. The philosophy of this program, though, is a bit different. The intent of the province is to fund 100% of projects. They want to see that happen. So the careful preparation of the budget is really important versus the infrastructure grants from senior government, such as the money for the airport water system, is very much geared on everyone's done their homework. Your percentage share is this. You guarantee to us that if we fund your project, you'll stand behind your estimates and you'll pay the difference. So there is a difference the philosophy there. Now, I would, in terms of the airport and the experience the town went through on the significant cost uplift on that budget, one strategy that was mentioned by staff for future projects, which mimics the experience in doing the airport terminal project, was there is some ability while this grant application is being prepared to get contractor input, because it's the missing piece. If the designers and so on are doing cost estimates and oversight, that's great, that's what they do, but they don't actually have to sign on to a contract to build it. So if the town can find a way of engaging the likely contractors who would be expected to bid on this, so they can make some suggestions before the thing is locked down, that would be very helpful, and that could happen in the grant process and after a grant award. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Wallace, that's helpful. Okay, I've lost the bouncing ball. Does someone else have their hands up? Councilor Raymond.
I just wanted to speak, so one of the reasons why I'm feeling so confident in this is the fact that the YMCA has done many projects, and I went through and I looked them up, and they've all gone through quite well. There hasn't been huge headlines about childcare facility cost overruns 300%. So I think their experience is going to be extremely valuable for this. Also, if memory serves, this is actually a relatively quick turnaround for a grant. It's not like we're going to apply for a grant. It's going to take 18 months or 2 years for it to come back to us. This one comes around a lot quicker. So I'm confident that with a good grant application and with some good foresight and planning, that we can keep the project on budget, and having the YMCA as an operator, I think would be very helpful.
Thanks, Councilor Raymond. Okay, we're good. Our hands and call a vote. All in favor? And opposed? Oh, there's some drama there. The motion passes with Councilor Ray opposed. Thank you. It's easy to understand, so thank you for that. Okay, we are at 1412, report from Mr. Shipley on the Alfred Avenue Lane Utilities Replacement Contract with a recommendation. With a recommendation, Councilor Bigman, Councilor Raven, discussion. I'm just really happy to see this one. It's been a while. It'd be really great to see this done. So thank you. I think the folks nearby will be very grateful. So thanks for the work. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Sometimes they take a long time, so it's feels anticlimactic to have such a short recommendation, such a big thing. 1413, the Sophie reports and a motion to approve, please. Councilor Bukama, Councilor Raven, thank you. Any questions or comments from Mr. Wallace? Councilor Bukama.
I said it earlier with the annual municipal report, but I kind of feel the same way about the statement of financial information. I just found it was just a wonderful summary for us to read through as councillors, get a real good sense of where the town's finances are at. And maybe seeing how it's Mr. Wallace's last meeting, maybe he had walked through it line by line. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I think you got everyone's attention with that. Okay. Anyone else have a comment on this? All right, we'll vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Is that right? 1414, report from Mr. Lawrence with a recommendation on changing up the arena facilities operating hours. There's a recommendation. Thank you. Seconder, please. Thank you. Discussion? Councilor Ray?
Yes, thanks. I just wanted to comment. I thought that the thumbs up, thumbs down was how we voted online, and I can see how badly the lag is. I can raise my thumb, put it down, and then I see myself raise my thumb. So apologies for that. I didn't mean to be dramatic about it. I was just wondering if Mr. Lawrence could comment. I definitely support it, but if Mr. Lawrence could comment on, I think it's Mr. Lawrence, yeah, could comment on how many hours the arenas operate at present.
Mr. Lawrence.
Through the mayor to Councillor Ray. That's a difficult question to answer because of the way that we've been operating the arenas. It's been for a few years pretty ad hoc, where if there are additional bookings and we do have budget available that's not going to incur overtime, then we're filling those slots. So it's been kind of all over the map. And that's one of the major considerations with this report, is to eliminate the amount of staff time involved in the additional scheduling. And there's a lot of back and forth between staff members and like duplication of services and just a lack of efficiencies. So thanks for pointing that out, actually. It's very beneficial.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I did see in the report that when staff aren't doing, they'll be able to clean and etc. So thank you for being able to do that. And 20 hours a day is pretty impressive, especially when you're able to do it in a smaller budget than you may have been using already. So really appreciate that.
Thanks, Councillor Ray. Anyone else? The cycle that's kind of like magic. Make more for less, amazing. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? And that's carried. Thanks, folks. Okay, how are folks doing? Any a break? Okay, let's we'll take 10. 8:15. Thank you. Okay, so we were at the 15th. We have a report from Ms. Westberg, the notification on staff vacancies, and the recommendation, actually just received, so just for information, don't worry about that. And we also have the report from Mr. Wallace, also for information. This is a great acronym, LGDE, Local Government Data Entry Reporting. But council, if you have questions to either of those, now's the time. Okay, I'm not seeing anything, thanks to staff for the reports. So we're up to bylaws. So 16.1. So Bill 44. Been through this, but we're here now for second and third. So let's get first reading done by Councillor Patterson moves. Councillor Raven seconds. No discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? That's first reading. Unanimous. Second reading, please. Councillor Patterson. Councillor Pigma. Now discussion if you want. Not seeing any. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And third is Councillor Patterson, Councillor Raven. Discussion here too if you want. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Thanks, that's another one where it's a lot of work that goes into a few minutes. Because it gets. Okay, and bylaw 1973. Did I miss something? Okay. First reading, bylaw 1973. Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Raven. No discussion, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried. And second reading, bylaw 1973. Still CP, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Patterson. Discussion if you like. The only thing I'm gonna add, because we went past the other one, is we've spent some time on this and appreciate the work. I think I can never tell which is harder on staff, is if we don't talk about it or if we do. So the work is appreciated. All right, second reading, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. Third reading, Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Raven. Last crack. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you for all the work that went into that. And not all communities are going to meet the deadlines. So I think folks here took that really seriously. And, you know, we may have glitches as we move forward and we'll just deal with them, but the effort was extraordinary and thank you. Okay. There is no 17th, so we're to the 18th. If there's anything people would like to pull out of there. Did I miss one? So I don't know what to do that one. Oh, yeah, okay. Bylaw 1974, road closure. Sorry about that. For first, second, and third. So motion for first, Councillor Patterson, Councillor Raven. All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And second reading, please. Councillor Raven. Discussion. You're good? We're just at second reading of that one. I'm not sure if you the road. Okay, no, it's fine. We're going through the last one. So how you Oh, yeah, we do them separately. Yeah. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That second reading carried and third reading. Councillor Buchanan, Councillor Raven. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, and that's carried. Thanks, Ms. Chandran. Okay, now we're getting through the 16s. We don't have anything under 17s. We're up to the 18s, correspondence for receipt, unless there's something you would like to talk about. So here's your moment. If you want to pull something out, if you could just let me know the numbers. Use my own numbers.
Senator.
Okay, I do want to pull out, we'll go through if someone wants to pull out something else. I did want to talk about 18.
Should be coming your way.
It's 18-2 now under the amended one. It's the Community Safety and Wellbeing Conference in Victoria this fall. I just wanted to point it out. And of course, because it's a new conference, there is some language in our procedure bylaw, and something new, or we haven't done it before, Mr. Schroeder can help me, that sometimes we need to discuss it. This one just made me think of you, Councillor Patterson. I'm not sure if in November you're gonna want to go to a conference, but I just wanted to draw it to people's attention if it seems of interest and as well to staff. This seems like something that we deal with all the time, and Victoria is sort of ahead of some cities. They're bigger than us, but there may be things that are of interest.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I was gonna say, I think that's a great suggestion, and I was just gonna flag it for discussion with our newly formed committee, assuming that we'd have a meeting beforehand.
Okay, that sounds good. And of course, if people want to go, you don't have to decide now, but it seems one that's worth mentioning. And is there anything else on the 18th? Okay. Is there anything else that there's other?
Now would be a good opportunity for us to recess, so we can move back into close.
Okay, let's do, so we're gonna adjourn out. So just take the recess. Okay, a motion to recess, please. Councillor Raven, second. All in favor? And we're recessed. Councillor Ray, if you can just hang on, we'll just take a few minutes to clear the room. So please stay online and we'll get your attention. And open part is adjourned.